So this is Michigan eLibrary supporting secondary instruction. My name is Ann Kaskinen. I am the K-12 engagement specialist for the Michigan eLibrary, yet I am employed by the Midwest Collaborative for Library Services. We are a nonprofit that serve all libraries in Michigan and Indiana. And on this page, you have all of my contact information, anything that you might need to have. First, my email address at the top. And then next, if you would like to have training out in your districts, either in person or virtually, we can arrange that through the MEL request form. And all training is free. Everything is free from MEL. The second link here is the MEL EResources support and tech questions. So after today, if you are in MEL and you have any kind of issues at all, something isn't working, you don't know how to use something, or perhaps you're having connectivity issues and you want to get into the resources remotely, but something is going afoul. If that happens to you, make sure to contact us. We do not want that to happen. We want students, teachers, and everyone in the state to have seamless access to these resources. And then the final link on this page is the eResource announcement listserv. Anyone in the state of Michigan is welcome to join that listserv. So why MEL and the eResources? First and foremost, to support our curriculum K-12, to support information literacy. I talk about this in the elementary and secondary sessions. The expectation right now is that students by the end of second grade will know the difference between a primary and secondary source. So it's really important that they have resources and they know where this information is coming from. So from the early databases that have simple citation to the more advanced databases that have up to 9 different formats of citation, information literacy pieces are really important here. We also have tons of content that support the essential instructional practices in literacy. This started out, the essential practices started out as an initiative with our Michigan Read by Grade 3 law in 2015, and they have been developed by the GELN very, very thoroughly, companion videos, all kinds of content in there to help all of us and give us direction. And they started out kindergarten through 3rd grade. They expanded to a 4th, 5th grade document, and then in 2019 published a 612 document. And in that document, the expectation is that 6th grade students will know how to navigate a database. So really important to expose our students to as many databases as possible. Never get hung up in the idea that one is so much better than the other. Yes, we might like the tools and the interfaces, maybe even the content a little bit better, but every single database has something of value to us and our students. So that's what we're going to look for today in the resources. And find out what golden nuggets are there for us to utilize in our classrooms. Also, the Michigan Integrated Technology Competencies for students, definitely the knowledge constructor vein we can be supportive of. Career, college, and military preparation resources. We're going to dig into one of these quite extensively today so that we understand what is available for our students to prepare them for post-secondary careers, military, and even college. And then finally, most of the eResources in MEL have built-in accessibility tools for our students. So we're going to take a look at some of those tools that can help them a little bit more. So another piece about MEL and this database literacy I think is really important to realize is that all of our post-secondary institutions are utilizing databases, and not a little bit, almost exclusively for research in our community colleges and universities. If we go to Lansing Community College as an example, we see there are 168 databases listed. And as I scroll down the list, they've done a nice job of identifying which of those are provided through the Michigan eLibrary. So our community colleges and universities all gravitate to Academic Search Complete, which is an international database of a lot of scholarly content. So you'll see this organized in nearly every bank of databases in post-secondary everywhere in the state. And if I keep scrolling, you see all these little M's. Those are all MEL purchased databases that have been organized here. I can go back to our list. So we had a little over 150 at Lansing Community College. If we head into the Wayne State databases, we see they purchased 501 databases for their students. Western Michigan University has 566 databases. that they purchase, and then Michigan State University, over 1,100 databases here, 1,171 databases. So you can see databases are really important. At the K-12 level, some of the familiar vendors that we hear about are Gale. We had Gale for a long time. We still have Gale in Context Opposing Viewpoints in the suite of resources that we offer. ProQuest is a very popular database. We have Capstone, we have Britannica, we have EBSCO. You've probably heard of JSTOR. These are all really important to all of us in different ways. And so it's really important to go into these and see what can be extracted to support our students. So the layout of mel.org, and if you want to open a separate tab and kind of follow along, we are going to be going into the eResources at mel.org, but a little bit first about the layout of the page. So most of what we're going to do, I am accessing from behind the eResources link. And basically we have different organizations and A to Z lists of accessing these resources. But we also have behind the educator link over on the far right, a whole host of resources for customization. MEL is a repository of resources. It is not intended to be interactive in any way. It is for you to go in and take basically what you need and move it to your own website. So if you want to customize your website, linking directly to all of the eResources in MEL, you can learn how to do that behind the educator link. And there's some other resources back there too, help and training resources, EduPass courses that you can take, or MEL Minute, a variety of things to help support your understanding of the resources in MEL. And then the eJournals also is directly associated with these eResources, because in each of these databases, we have subscriptions. We have current subscriptions to a host of magazines, professional journals, and we also have archived subscriptions. So we might have a run that goes back to the early 1980s in particular journals. So all of those have been organized in an A to Z title list. So I can go to the eJournal link and just type in what publication I'm looking for, and it will tell me if it's in there, and if it is, what databases have a subscription to it. So we're going to take a look at that pathway in a bit. The other part of MEL, so there's the eResource portion, and then there's also the MELCAT portion. And MELCAT and the eResources are very separate from each other. MELCAT is our statewide sharing service of resources. So in order to access MELCAT and take advantage of it, you just need a working public library card. And if you go to your public library, either online or in person, and they don't have the item that you would like, you can go into MELCAT and search for it somewhere else in the state, and it will be sent to your public library within 3 weeks. Typically, COVID has slowed a few things down here and there, but traditionally 3 weeks is the cap on getting that item. And then once you receive it, you have it for 6 weeks or for 3 weeks as well. Excuse me. So MELCAT is very unique to the state of Michigan. We have 95% of our public libraries that participate in MELCAT. As I mentioned, just as we were starting today, we have 9 K-12 libraries that are left participating in MELCAT, and then most of our post-secondary institutions, including Michigan State, participate in MELCAT. So those are the two pieces of MEL that really are important. We're going to head down the eResource path, and so learning about what is actually in here. We have 3 different encyclopedias. 2 of them are K-5, one of them is K-12. The Britannica resource encyclopedia is amazing. I always say it's like the Wikipedia of academia, because they're updating the Britannica encyclopedia nearly every day, usually 12 new pages on every weekday, and we're seeing 12 to 15 pages of updates every day. So a lot of things happening with that Britannica resource, and we'll take a look at that together. We have a lot of job and career eResources, including the Learning Express library, which has 3 separate subscriptions: college library, high school library, public library. So we'll be exploring the high school library of that today. And then we have databases, 70 or so of them. And they're very individualized, they're very unique, And each of them has a separate set of subscriptions. For example, the Masterfile Complete database. And I think it's really important to know, if you're going to go into a database, what types of things am I going to find in there that are going to be helpful to me? Well, that was kind of my mindset when I created these next few slides, to show samples of current subscriptions. So right now there is a current subscription of Rolling Stone in Masterfile Complete, Motor Trend, Michigan Blue, The Atlantic, Art Journal, Golf Magazine, People. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but that's kind of what Masterfile is. It's a little bit of everything. It's probably the most generic yet most robust of all of the databases for what it has, because there's such a wide range of what it offers. Most of these are coming to us in PDF, those full color, beautiful PDF pages. And then some are only in HTML. And if they are only in HTML format, I've included that they are text only on these particular slides. And these slides are intended just to be used as reference. I created them myself as a reference, and then thought that I would share them with others as just a reference tool to kind of help us navigate to which resource might be the most beneficial. But I will say these take quite a lot of time to create. So I only have a handful of them. I haven't done it for every single resource we have. Education Source, this is where you're going to find all kinds of professional academic journals. And this is a great location for Scholastic teachers' guides, for those Scholastic publications that you might use in the middle school and even some in the high school. We have all of the foreign language publications for Scholastic in German, French, and Spanish. And middle school plus, sorry, all of a sudden it's just not hitting me. So our middle school database has all of those, but all of the companions are in Education Source. And then History Reference Center, we have a lot of different reference centers in MEL. And what's unique about reference centers is they have video and image collections, special collections, along with all of the articles. So I have extracted these samples of current publications in here. And what you'll notice is that some of these indicate that, that they have an embargo on them. So this at the top, ethnohistory or gender and history, German history, these all have 1-year embargoes. And that's the publisher saying, hey, yeah, we're going to share the record of that publication with you, but we're not going to give you the full text access for at least 1 year. So when we search, we get those records that come up, but what we don't get is the full text article. So if there was an embargo on any of these, I included it. And definitely History Reference Center has more embargoes on many of their publications than any other resource we have. Another Caribbean search, I made this one just so that you can see the types of publications that you would find in something very specific. We also have a Jewish studies source, same kind of thing. It's going to be very, very specific and finite to Jewish studies, much like Caribbean search is to the Caribbean. Environment Complete. This is just a nice medley of resources about our environment: biocycle, biodynamics, botany, conservation ecology, Earth's future, anything that might be relevant in that area. And then our Hobbies and Crafts Reference Center. Oh my gosh, this is like the hidden gem, I swear. And as we go into deer hunting, deer hunting, big hobby in Michigan, and there's a ton of information in here. And I also find the best resources about morel hunting in here during that season. So you just kind of need to know which resource is going to hit the thing that you're searching for. Academic Search Complete, this is our big international database. So you're going to see publications from all over the world in many different languages. Applied Science and Technology, Psychology and Behavioral Sciences, Science Reference Center. And this one's unique too. There's a lot of content in here for both elementary, middle, and high school. All 3 grade levels really can be benefited from this resource. So that was just kind of a medley of slides that you can look at later to kind of see what's in there. But I'm going to show you how we can go into those different databases and utilize that content. So that's the 70+ databases here with subscriptions. And then we have 5 different ebook collections. We have a K-8 collection, a high school collection, public library collection, an academic and business collection as well. We have readers advisory databases called Novelist Plus, and pretty much you can go into Novelist Plus and find anything that you want to know about a book. You can find its Lexile level, if it's part of accelerated reader program, and how many points it's worth. You can read reviews about that book. You can read if it's a book in a series and what number it is. And then it also gives you 10 read-alikes. So you can go into Novelist, type in the title of a book, and it will generate 10 read-alike titles, which is great for students who are saying, oh my gosh, I just finished this great book. I don't know what to read next. I loved it. And they don't really want to give it up. So you can actually recommend a book that would come up as a read-alike for what they just finished. As I mentioned, the reference centers have image and video collections, and then we have 3 early learning interactive databases. So with that, we are going to take a look at our first resource, which is the ebook collections. Everything that you see on this page is available in the ebook K-8 collection. So we have the first 12 books in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, lots of craft books, alphabet books are in there, sports, and all of the state and country books would be found in there as well. In the high school collection, a lot of great things happened with this collection in the last year. Literary classics were added to the ebook high school collection. It used to be that just these Saddleback illustrated classics were in there. I mean, there were a lot of them, I think over 60 of them in there, the entire collection of the Saddleback classics, but we weren't getting the full text literary books that we really wanted. And without asking and without knowing it was going to happen, they just all showed up about a year ago, and it's been fantastic. So whenever you're looking for that supplemental text, literary criticism, anything like that in the literary genre, this is a really, really great place to go now. So I'm going to leave this slide and we will head out onto the MEL website. And from the MEL landing page, we're going to click on the EResources. And then we have some options as we scroll down the page. All of the EResources that are most likely to be accessed by public library patrons have been organized behind this field on the far left. And then we have in the center our K-12 databases. And if I click on that, then I have 2 pathways. I can either go in the K-5 pathway or the teen pathway. But what I caution you is that teen can be more expansive than what you see in here. This is just kind of a baseline for what might be of most interest to teens if they were the ones navigating through this site. But just know that things that aren't listed behind teen are like all of the reference centers are not listed back there. Masterfile complete is not listed there, yet could be very, very useful for our International Baccalaureate students and our AP students. So take this with a little grain of salt, know that it's a good baseline, but there are other items that teens could access. And then over on the far right, we have an A to Z list of all of the resources with a little bit of explanation about what they are and what you'll find in them. At the very bottom of the page is our A to Z list. So if you know the title of the resource that you're trying to find, all you have to do is click on that letter. So we're looking for the ebook collection. So I'm going to letter E for ebook. And as I scroll down, I can see there's an academic, a business, high school, K-8, and public library. We're going to jump into the high school collection. And all of the EBSCO host products pretty much have the same landing page, very similar. The tools get used the same. So once you know how to use the tools in one resource, you pretty much know how to use them in all of the EBSCO products. They still exist in Britannica and in Gale and other resources. They just might look a little bit different, that's all. But they are there. So here we'll just do it. Oh, sorry, the page itself. I apologize. Down the page a little bit, here at the top, there's a carousel of books. These are titles that have recently been added to the collection. And so this kind of gets updated pretty regularly. And then down the left, you have featured ebooks, and the carousel at the bottom actually coordinates with these. So if I were at the travel section, I could be down here and kind of explore travel. So sometimes you have travel, sometimes philosophy might jump up. It is just actually coordinating with one of the categories down the left. And I like the categories. It's a good place for starting if you don't know exactly what you might find in here. But I think when you use the browse by category, you eliminate some possibilities in your search results. So just keep in mind, I would do a couple of them. I might browse here and then go up and search too to see what I find. So if I come here and I just do a basic search, we'll look for science books. I can see there are over 3,600 science books here, and on a variety of topics: information science, earth science, physical, medical, science fiction even came up because that's the key word that I used. So we can start to eliminate some items by using the advanced search and make our search results a little tighter. And one of the ways that we can do that is we can say, okay, I just want to see new publications. So right now, 2020 is the most recent year of titles that have been added. So if I just want to see the most recent, I can go over to all my field codes over here on the right and select PY, year of publication, and then do a search, and this will narrow down my results. So now I have 77 titles that were published in 2020 and added to the ebook high school collection. Some of these titles are in EPUB. As I scroll down, you can see some of them are in PDF, and some of them are in both PDF and EPUB. Only difference really is that PDF has some more toggle tools in it. It's a little bit more static. It's definitely what I recommend if you're working on a desktop. But if you're in a small e-reader of some sort, like a smaller Kindle or a cell phone, I would recommend using the EPUB, because those images in there and text will auto adjust to your screen reader. So it kind of depends on the device you're using, which one of these might be a better choice. But all of the same information is contained within. And of course, the publisher determines which format is going to be used for the book. So you have tools on all of your landing pages in EBSCO. And one of those tools is the relevance tool. So if I want to resort my search results by the newest, oldest, by author or title, I have the ability to do that. So I can put them in alphabetical order by title or author. And I have looked for the 2020 publication, so resorting by date newest would be a moot point here. But then I also have the ability to share. And this share tool is important. You're going to see this in a lot of different places. So if I open the share tool, I can come down here at the bottom and I can grab that permalink. And so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into the chat right now. And you should be able to click on that link that I've just put in the chat and go directly to the same result page that we're all looking at together. So hopefully that works for you. If it doesn't, and this is important, if it doesn't link, that means that you might be coming from a network not seen as originating in the state of Michigan. Your IP address, it's saying, nope, you're not in Michigan when they see that IP. And the reason for that might be that you're on a hotspot, because a lot of cellular networks do not originate in the state of Michigan. So it's possible that you're on a hotspot and it's prompting you to secondary authenticate to get into this resource. So that's one possibility. Another might be that you're in a hotel room and the network does not originate in Michigan. If that's the case, then you also might be prompted for secondary authentication. I'm glad to see it's happening and working for some. Thank you for posting. I always want to know if it's working. If you do have any connection issues, or you know that your students will be accessing resources from home and they very likely might be using a hotspot or accessing in a way that would give them a hiccup or two to get into these resources, contact us at melhelp@mcls.org. It's on that second slide of the slide deck. And Megan will set up a unique URL for your school building so that your students can go directly into these resources off-site. Again, we want to make sure that this is seamless for all of you and your students to access. Awesome. Okay, so that's the share tool. And mention more about the share tool here is you have to grab permalinks in any database that offers you a permalink. If you want to share the search results, share a page, Whatever the case may be, if you are offered a permalink, that's what you have to grab. Now, if you try to come up and grab a URL on the top of the page, it will not work because this URL has session data in it, and the person on the receiving end will get a broken link because that session data will come with that information and it will not open. So make sure that you are grabbing permalinks. If a database doesn't have a permalink offering, then you have to use the URL, and it can get kind of confusing. So one resource that we have is Britannica, and it's awesome. There's so many wonderful things in there, but you have to use the URLs for the articles in Britannica in order to share them. And so it's a little bit different. And again, if you have any issues, please let us know and we will solve those issues for you. So let's do a couple more searches. I'm going to clear the fields here. Shakespeare, there is a ton of Shakespeare in here. So let's say I just type in Shakespeare and I have 310 titles that come back. And a little bit, this AP feed here in the center, that comes on every EBSCO landing page. We cannot take it out. I have asked, they will not take it out. So there it is. And I just hardly even notice it anymore. I just zip right past it. And again, it's only on the first page and then you won't see it anymore. And I don't believe if I share results, it will show up there either. So you can see a lot of different Shakespeare things, but let's narrow that down a little bit. These additional fields can really help you with your search results, and you can have up to 10 fields. So a lot of different fields. So let's just look for sonnets, Shakespeare in sonnets. And now I have, again, a more manageable result list. I have 14 titles on Shakespeare sonnets. And again, those are really easy to share. You know, your high school English teachers, maybe you're doing units on Shakespeare. You can go in and create lists for them and say, hey, I was in Mel the other day and there's all these great titles about Shakespeare that you might be interested in. You can send them all 300, or you can narrow it down and chop them up for what they might be most interested in finding out. So a lot of different things there. Let's do one more. So this time let's put in STEM. So there probably be a lot of different STEM titles in here, 120, there's some sports titles. So we'll go, okay, STEM and sports. So we have 14 books. Many of them have been added pretty recently. We'll go down here and we will open STEM and basketball, which was published in 2020. And I'm going to click on the title. When you click on the title, you're going to the detailed record page of the book. But I can go straight to the PDF of the book. I have a choice. I'm just going to the detailed record to show you what that looks like. And then I can go to the PDF you see over here in the top left from this page. But this is a typical detailed record page. You get a little description of what the book is about. We have all of these tools up the right-hand side, and I'm going to share those when we open the PDF. They work all the same. And then you have some of your MARC record data down here in the center, and then some highlights and relevant pages in the book, and then a hyperlinked table of contents. That's very typical to what you would see on a detailed record page of any ebook. And then when we open the PDF, Connecting STEM and Sports, this is the basketball title, STEM and Basketball. Right now, I have all of the tools that I need to manipulate the book where I can see them. But if I just want to open the book and look at it all by itself, I come down here to the right-hand part of the page, the bottom right, with 5 toggle tools. To open that book, I'm going to hit these 4 arrows. And now I have full screen. It's a little bit too much of a full screen, so I'm going to go to the next tool, which is Fit to Page. And now I have a book that can be advanced page by page by page, or you can actually scroll these pages as well. So this is very typical of what you would see in any of these books and how you would access them. You can also font up and font down. If I want to go back to that original page, which had all my tools, I can hit the escape key, or I can hit these 4 arrows again in the bottom right. And so here I am back where all my tools are. And these tools are pretty awesome. You can do a lot of different things with this ebook. We're going to start in the top right and work our way left with the different tools available. So the first one is the full download. I can download all the ebooks that are in MEL as often as I need to. They're only available for 28 days on the download, and then I would have to re-download them. But you can do that as many times as you need. The only thing you have to do to download a book is to sign in and create an account. And to do that, you just need a working email address, and anyone can sign in. Your students can build accounts, you can build accounts, your parents can build accounts. Whomever in the state of Michigan is welcome to build those accounts. So that's your download. But digitally, these books are available 24/7, 365 to everyone, and you can have multiple users on the same book simultaneously. We've had up to 1,000 students accessing the same book at the same time, all on their own desktop, and it was down in a school in the southeast part of the state during COVID. So we do know that it works and works successfully. Other tools, you have Google Drive here. When I click on that, it prompts me to send either the current page of the next X amount of pages, or the entire section to Google Drive. I can drop this book in Google Classroom and make an assignment just by clicking the icon. So when I click that icon, it prompts me to my classroom, so I can select my class that I want, choose an action. I'm going to create an assignment. And now I can title that STEM and Basketball. And I can add, read about momentum, or whatever the case may be. And here's a link directly to that book. So now when I assign it, it just went out to all my students with that book attached and the assignment. I can also, if I'm not using Google Classroom as my school management system, learning management system, I can open the permalink, and I can grab that permalink and I can drop that into my Schoology or Canvas or Blackboard or whatever other learning management system I might be using. The permalinks will work there. One thing to note about permalinks when you're inside a book is that they link to individual pages. So right now, if I sent this link to you, you would open to the introduction page. So make sure, if you want students or whomever to open from the front cover, that you are on the front cover when you grab that permalink. Conversely, if you want them to open to a particular page, go to that page. I do recommend that you check your link one time before you send it, just to make sure it's opening to the page that you anticipate it will open to. You also have the ability up here to export bibliography information to EasyBib, Noodle Tools, EndNote Web. There are a few other formats here that you might be using in your school district. There's a dictionary. Here's citation. 9 different formats of citation, all the big hitters: APA, MLA, Chicago, Harvard. You can print pages, you can email pages. Remember, the people on the other end of these emails, if you're sending articles or sending ebook information to anyone, that they're hopefully in Michigan, because if they're not, then they will get prompted for password. You can save pages and you can add to folder, but you have to make sure that you are signed in. If you do that and you're not signed in, of course, it really doesn't get saved. So just kind of mental memory there that you have to be signed in. And then probably the last thing that's most interesting on the ebooks, I think, is that the search within tool can be very beneficial. In that assignment, remember, I just told students that they needed to tell me something about momentum. So if I want to find every single instance in the book where the word momentum appears, I just type that in under the search within tool and click search. And now I have all of the places where momentum appears in the book with a little context around it and then a link directly to that page. So if I link to page 8, so you can see it highlights the term that you're searching and it will take you directly to it. It's pretty great. So if I want to go to page 12, there it is highlighted on page 12. So if I need to learn about momentum from this text, it's assigned to me. I can just quickly pull up, search within, and look throughout the text. So really, really helpful in that way. Okay, I am going to leave the ebook collection. We are going to head back to our landing page in MEL. You can always click the MEL icon in the top left to get back to that landing page. We're going to the EResources again. This time we're going to open MAS Complete. And MAS Complete, and what I love about the letter M here is all of these, MAS Complete, Masterfile Complete, and Middle Search Plus, they all work exactly the same. So they just have different content for the different levels. Middle Search is going to have all of that middle school content, and it even plugs a little bit higher. You'll find things like People in Spanish in the middle school, People Magazine in middle school. So popular interest type things might be a little bit on the older side, but then you'll also find like Junior Scholastic in here, Scholastic News for 5th and 6th grade. So you'll find a lot of information on both sides of that middle school kind of like cutoff. And then MAS Complete was designed specifically for high school students. And so it's very generalized for your high school students. And then Masterfile Complete is just a little bit more advanced. It's going to have not only magazines, but also lots of academic journals. So you're just going to get more in the Masterfile Complete than you would get in the MAS Complete. But we're just going to take a look here at MAS Complete. And we will do another simple search. This time we are going to search the term water. And when I search that term, 118,000 plus items come back. And the types of content that you're seeing in here, over 76,000 magazine articles, over 9,000 newspaper articles, primary source documents, biographies, and reference books. That's the type of content that you will see in MAS Complete, Masterfile Complete, Middle Search Plus, even Primary Search, which is it for our 3rd, 4th, 5th grade students doing elementary research. So all of them work exactly the same. If I want to make this more specific, I can open the Advanced Search tool. And here I'm going to add Flint to the search. So now I narrow my search down to 337 results. All of these results can be shared. Here's my share tool over here. And I'm going to grab the hyperlink, the permalink, and drop that in the chat. And you should get all 337 results that I'm looking at with that permalink. And again, that can easily be shared with students or staff. So Toxic Legacy comes up at the top. That's coming to us from Time Magazine. Here's another Time Magazine. Human Rights publication, Parks and Recreation, another Time, Human Rights. Here's from Environment publication. A lot of Time magazines, they covered the story well. Here's one from New Scientist and another from New Scientist. What you'll probably notice here, some of these are in HTML, some of them are in PDF, and some of them are in both. We love the ones that are in both. Awesome. I'm glad these links are working. I'm so excited that they're working because it's so hard when they don't and everyone has that expectation. So this is awesome. Thank you for the feedback on that. I'm just going to go to the first article here because it comes in both HTML and PDF. And to get full accessibility of the content, we really want it in both formats. So I'm going to click the PDF full text, and it's just what you would expect. It is a PDF document of the original publication in Time Magazine from April 22nd, 2019. So we'll just scroll down here. I see it's 7 pages. So we're just scrolling down this page. And then the last page always is your copyright information. So I'll go back up to the top. So that's the PDF. And you have all these tools that you can use inside the PDF. So if I want to download this document, I can. I just click the download tool, and then it will prompt me and ask me where I want to save it. Once I download a document, that document is in my computer or wherever I save it forever until I delete it. So this is not like the ebooks. The articles are very different. They behave differently than the ebooks. So I can download that. I can print this PDF. Again, I want to use the print tool inside the PDF, not the one on the outside. That print tool only prints what you see on the screen. And then, you can increase and decrease font from right within the PDF. You have a lot of flexibility there. To the left, anytime you open a PDF document in any of these EBSCO products, you're actually opening the entire publication. So for us, it opened to page 34, the article on toxic legacy. But if I want to read this article about the plot against Europe, I can just go right up and browse through the other articles available. So here's another article that was on page 26 in the same publication. And so you can see it's not terribly difficult to browse through different publications. It's actually quite easy. We're going to go back to our original toxic legacy. And I should mention too, the tools that I'm showing you, oftentimes the Drive and the Classroom tool only work with the original publication that you opened. If you start browsing, we noticed that dropping in Drive sometimes isn't consistent if you didn't start with that article. So just something to keep in mind if you're saving or sharing them. But the tools, very similar to the ebooks. At the bottom here, you have your permalink. So when I click that, it exposes a permalink up here at the top. And I would copy that and I could, well, here, I'll do that. I'll copy and I'll drop that in the chat. So hopefully this works exactly like the others. And so here's that article. I can export my bibliographic data to EasyBib, Noodle Tools, whatever I'd like with that tool there. Here's my citation formats, all of my different formats. I can drop it in a folder. Definitely want to log in first, just like we did in ebooks. I can email this article. Again, you want to make sure it's going to someone in Michigan. Just add the email and then the subject and a comment and hit send, and this article will send out. The print tool we covered, Drive, and this is so simple, especially compared to anything else I've ever used with these. So when you click Drive, then you just get prompted to select your Google account. And when you do that, it will say, please wait while you are redirected to Google. And now, okay. So if I come to Google, which I thought I had this open, I apologize, and I open my Drive, this toxic legacy article is the most recent one added to my Drive. All I have to do is click that link and poof, there it goes. It also builds a folder for me. So if I'm using Britannica, EBSCO, or Gale, all of those vendors build folders as soon as you drop your first article. And then they organize all your content alphabetically. So toxic legacy should be down here in alphabetical order toward the end. So these are all different articles that I've added from EBSCO products, and they organize for me in that EBSCO folder. So if I come back up here, the last tool we have is Google Classroom, and it works exactly like we saw in the ebook collection. I just click on the icon and I can share this resource and build an assignment directly in my classroom. At the bottom left of the page is the HTML format of the same article. So I want to click on that. And this is where we get more of those accessibility tools for our students that need extra support. So we have at the top, translation in 35 different languages. So if I want to translate to Spanish, I can just select Spanish and then click the translate tool. And now we have the same article translated into Spanish. Pretty consistent translation for Spanish, French, German, Italian, but not as effective translation for Arabic. I've asked some native Arabic speakers, and the Arabic is a little lacking. They give me a fair rating on it as far as how well it translated. So just so you know, some of these are a little bit more robust, I'll say, than others in their translation. You'll also notice that when you translate the article, the text-to-speech tool disappears because you cannot have the articles read in other languages. They will only be read in English. Another feature that you have to keep in mind if you use any of the tools up the right-hand side, like Google Drive or Classroom or the permalink, you can only link to the English content. You cannot link or use the tools with the translated text. If you need that translated text, you would literally have to come in and copy it and paste it in a new location. So that's a little about the translation. I'm going to go back to the original language here. And when I did, our listen tool came back up. If I want to listen to the article from beginning to end, I can just hit the play button. But if I want to make some changes or really manipulate this text a little bit more, I come to the listen side of the button. And when I click that, I hit pause here. A little collapsed menu is exposed. And when I click that, I get all these different tools to help me. So I can change my accent to a male Australian accent or a female British accent. I have 6 choices there. I have the ability to highlight the text, highlight the background of the text. I can read on hover. So if I click this and then hover over a particular location, it will start reading.
It's too hopeful to think the Flint, Michigan water crisis is over.
So it will do that. Now I have to turn it off if I don't want it to do that anymore. So I just click that again. So my read on hover is now turned off. I can increase font of the text. I can pull the text out away from the rest of the screen and put it in text mode, where then I can increase or decrease font. And I also have a page mask tool to help me focus on my reading. And then also I can download this article into an MP3 format and listen to it in another venue. So a lot of different features in the HTML format that you don't get in the PDF. And so don't be surprised. You'll see a lot of articles that are in one or the other. Not everything comes in both. And that's why on those slides of the different databases, I have in parentheses after some, like Rolling Stone, text only, because you're only going to get it in HTML and not PDF. You don't get the full color pieces. So questions about PDF formats, HTML format, working inside the database to do searches. Okay, I'm going to go back to the landing page. Thanks, Maureen. I'm going to go back to the landing page. And you know how I have all of those publications listed in the slide deck? And so if I come up here and we go back to the first one, Masterfile complete, here are all those publications. Well, what I can do is go to any one of these EBSCO products. And at the top, I can click on publications. And when I do that, I get a second search tool. And so if I want to see if there are any Scholastic publications inside the MAS Complete database, I can just type in Scholastic and hit Browse. And I see that Scholastic Action, Choices, Math, Super Science, all of these are available. Even School Library Journal is available for free in this resource. And then when I get there, I can just click on the title. And now it takes me to the entire run of Scholastic Action. So if I want to share all of these with you, I can come over here to my share tool and grab my permalink. Or if I just want to go in and grab the most recent, I can go in and grab the May 2021. We've noticed that Scholastic is a little behind on their publications post-COVID. So we anticipate more of these to come anytime, but right now May is the most recent for Scholastic. So now I can just open the May issue of Scholastic, and here, or Scholastic Action, and here are all of the articles that appeared in the Scholastic Action. So if I just want to share those with you, I can come down and grab my permalink. Let's try one more. So I'm going to Publications. Let's go to New Search first. So this is a landing page you'll see in all the EBSCOhost magazine products. So if I go to Publications, and now I come down here and I type in People Magazine or People, and I browse. It is there. So I'm going to click the title. And now if I want to share all of them with you, again, here's my share tool. But let's say I just want to share the November 8th issue with all of you. And it is only in PDF at this time. So I'm going to go down to permalink. Copy that, paste that right in the chat so you can get next Monday's People magazine. Now, one thing that's unique, and I have done this for some publications, People happens to be one of them, is I've set up an email alert. So anytime a new publication comes out, I get an email in my inbox telling me that the new issue of People magazine has now been published to this database. So I know I have at least one librarian in the room right now. If your teachers, if you wanted to set something up for your teachers and say, okay, every time people in Spanish comes in, I'm going to send it to my Spanish teachers. Every time the Atlantic comes in, I'm going to send it to all my high school ELA teachers. Those kinds of things, or maybe Scholastic Action, I'm going to send to all my middle school teachers. You can set up these alerts so that you don't have to have a conscious thought then about when are these getting added to the databases. You'll just get a notification whenever the new run of people is added. So super, super easy to set those up and to remind yourself that these are coming in. And again, this is going to be just like any other People magazine that you've ever looked at. This is the article. If I want to browse the articles, we've learned that I can just go from one to the next when I open the PDF. Some pages take a little longer. I think it's all that color ink, right? So this is what we would see in People magazine. Well, there were 7 pages loading, so not bad. Yeah, so many things for free available to all of us. So that is one way to get into the different individual publications, is to go right to the database and do that. But as I mentioned at the beginning, there's another way to do that. So I'm going back to that landing page in Mel. Here's our landing page. And right at the top is the EJournal Portal. I'm going to click on that. And this is where we have a giant title list. So all of the different publications that you'll find in the different EBSCO databases and Gale databases. So this organizes both EBSCO and Gale content. You can type that right in. So educational leadership, which most every administrator in the state of Michigan has a subscription to and shouldn't because it's free. I can go in here and I can search. And I see that 9 different databases have a subscription to that. So if I go into Masterfile Complete, I can come over here and use all my share tools, and the most recent October issue is available in Ed Leadership. But let's say I have a better purpose. I want to look for only articles on formative assessment that were published in Ed Leadership since 1984. So I'm going to search the entire run. I'm going to come over here to search within this publication, which is going to take me 1984 to present. And then I'm going to use the advanced search. And it already puts my field code in here, JN, journal name. And the second field, and I'm using 2 or more words that I want to come back together in my results. So I'm using quotation marks, and I'm going to write formative assessment. And so now when I do this search, only the articles on formative assessment that appeared in Ed Leadership are going to appear. And this is where the relevance tool can come in handy, because I just want to see most recent to least recent. So I'm going to resort them, date newest. And now the most recent article was published in summer 2021 about formative tests. You can see relevance will always bring exactly what you typed to the top and what your focus is, whereas date newest is just going to take anything that it touched and then resort them. So we get a couple of resources from the summer publication, and then retellings as formative assessment from April, and talking formative assessment from February of this year. So you can see quite a few articles just about formative assessment. Have pulled up some on digital literacy through Ed Leadership. Another good professional journal for resources like this would be Phi Delta Kappan. But if you go back to my lists under Education Source, Masterfile Complete, and Academic Search Complete, you'll see all kinds of professional journals that are available to all of our teachers in there. It's pretty awesome. So again, that was by going through the eJournal portal on the landing page, and you can look for absolutely anything in there. So Atlantic, I'm a monthly reader of the Atlantic. It used to be called the Atlantic Monthly, and now it's just called the Atlantic. And we have 5 different databases that have a current subscription to the Atlantic. And we can go in there and look at all the full color PDFs of the Atlantic whenever it comes out. So that's another real popular one, especially with your high school ELA teachers. Let's see, any questions about the eJournal portal or accessing publications? All right, I am going to move to a similar yet different type of database. So we're clicking on EResources, going to the bottom of the page. This time I'm going to go into one of our reference centers. I'm going to access the Poetry and Short Story Reference Center, but we have several different ones: a History Reference Center, Science Reference Center, Hobbies and Crafts Reference Center, Literary Reference Center, some that I'm not thinking about reference centers right now, but lots of them. And again, what's unique is you get some real interesting kind of dynamic content, a little bit of visual navigation on the landing pages. There's always something new that's being featured on each of these reference pages. So you can kind of see in this one in particular, they have a featured author that changes every month and a featured work that changes monthly. So these types of things will change. The featured ebooks might not change. These might be here for a while. These are not necessarily a monthly change, but rather what is actually in this resource. What I love about this resource in particular are things like periods, movements, and schools. So if I come down to this and I click on it in the bottom left, now I can look at items, poetry, and short stories that were done during particular movements. So if I want to look at the American colonial period, it will give me a list of authors that are represented during that period. So a really nice way to find that type of content that can sometimes be hard to find is organized pretty nicely in most of these reference centers. Another thing that you might see here, poetic forms, themes, and techniques. So all of these different types of forms. So if I want to look for ballads, I can click on ballad and it will give me a curated list of different ballads. Some of these will have a full text of the ballad. Some of them will only have a record of the ballad. It's mostly letting you know that these are examples of ballad, not necessarily providing the ballad for you, but oftentimes does. And then we have poetic themes that you can search by, or even poetic techniques. A lot of different things there. What's really unique though about these different reference centers are the different collections. Like there's a separate video collection in this particular one. It's up here in the top of the band at the top, and I'm going to click video. And now I'm searching the Poetry and Short Story Reference Center video collection specifically. So if I come in here and I type in Jason Reynolds, a contemporary YA author, we have one video clip about Jason. So I can click on that title and it takes me to the video, which I can then download. And again, this will stay downloaded wherever you put it as long as you want it there, and will not disappear until you delete it. What's really great here, I get citation for this video. So here are my citation formats that come up for that video clip. I get permalink that I can share this video clip. What I don't get in the reference centers are Google Drive or Google Classroom. So I have to come in and grab the permalinks when I'm in reference centers. It's a little bit different. The formatting in reference centers is a little different. So there are just some things that are not the same as the other types of databases. But here's all your information about this particular video. You also have a separate image collection in this particular reference center, which is very typical of all the reference centers to have these separate collections at the top. So if I want to go to the literary image collection, and then I put in someone like Shel Silverstein, I have one picture of Shel that comes up. But again, I have citation information. I can link my students to this image. It just makes it easier and a little bit more reliable, I would say. So that's an example of one reference center, but know that you're going to get a lot of diverse content in these reference centers that you wouldn't get in just the basic database. So now I'm going to leave our EBSCO products that search in this way to one that is very, very unique. In fact, it's so unique, it's the only database that requires you to log in order to access all of the content. So we're going to go to eResources, come down here to letter L, and this is the Learning Express library. And Learning Express is all about test prep, tutorials, learning about careers, military, occupations, searching for colleges, finding scholarships. All of this is in here. And you see up here at the top, sign in and register. It does not take long. You just need a working email. I've worked with several districts now who want to use Learning Express Library and wish they hadn't purchased, say, a 3-year subscription to Zello as their career management tool with students in the high school, because this does just about everything that Zello does. And so right now I have a pretty big audience with K-12 counselors, and I'll be teaching a class with REMC for military preparation resources so that our counselors can get those 5 special sketch hours that they need for military awareness and preparation, because this is all inclusive of those things. So it purposely, very intentionally makes you log in, because if you start a practice test, say an AP or an ACT practice test, it will automatically save your spot so you don't lose where you left off. Anytime you open, you'll first come to My Center. So anything that I might have saved, if I were taking a test, it would be housed here. I have 18 tutorials that are in progress. I've downloaded 16 ebooks from this particular resource. I've started 13 different computer classes in here. There are several computer classes. They range anywhere from 2 to 12 hours in length. You can download different articles, flashcards. There are careers that you can search, and you can save all of those here. School finders, if I'm looking for individual colleges that I want to explore, I can save those here, and even scholarships that I may have found can be housed here. So it has a nice little management tool. I'm going to go to the home page. And the first thing that you'll notice on the home page is this search bar at the top. It searches all 3 of these different subscriptions. So we have a subscription to public library, one to college, and one to high school. This will search all 3. So I can start typing in, say, biology, and it's going to find anything related to biology. For example, the AP flashcard, biology flashcards. Here is the CLEP biology exam study guide, or even the AP biology practice exam 1. So you can use this tool. It's going to find it wherever it would be located behind these different subscriptions. We are going to start in the high school library, and we'll take a look at these and see what's in them, but we'll only explore a couple thoroughly. So first, the Prepare for College has ACT, SAT, AP test prep, as well as all of your foreign language, TOEFL, IBT, and IELTS practice tests. So if I go into the AP tests, this is going to give me everything related to AP. And during the pandemic, I have to say they did a fantastic job of keeping people updated and informed about how these tests had changed, that they were not doing the testing in the traditional format that they had done. And so all of that, they had notice bars on all these tests telling people how things had changed. They did a great job of staying up to date during the pandemic. So kudos to them for really stepping up. And they updated several of these tests. I know computer science got updated this year. The microeconomics and macroeconomics both got updated this year. And there were a couple new ones added, and I'm not really, it's not jumping out at me what new one was added, but I know one was. So we have some study guides, and I can expand on any of these. And again, once you start these tests, they will save your place so that you are not losing out and having to start all over every time you go in. So that's the Prepare for College and what you'll find in that center. High school success skills, very typical. I'm going to open one of these just so you can kind of see how they work. I don't think they're incredibly intuitive right away. Once you've been in one, though, they all work the same. So if you come in here and you want to start a tutorial, for example, and we're going to, let's see, let's do our tutorial on mastering social media. So when you get in here, this is what you'll see as your course introduction, but you want to click on these different units over here to the left to expand everything. So I'm clicking on social media basics, and then you expand again. We'll walk you through each step of this. So you can go kind of step by step through each of those lessons. And then when I want to expand lesson 2, I can just open that one. How much personal information should I share? Setting up privacy settings, who owns my content, and then you get a summary at the end. So that is kind of how these tutorials work. You just need to keep expanding the information on the left of the page. And then I can save and finish later, or I can go back. So I can do either one. I'm going to go back to the home page. I'm going to close without saving. and go back into that high school success skills. You can see there are life skills and even articles and ebooks that can be downloaded about success. Math and science, these are practice tests, they are informational, there's books, there's tutorials, all kinds of information on these particular topics. Same with English language arts skills. You can go in and follow tutorials, and social studies is the same. But if I go into the Computer Skills Center, this is where the courses get a little bit different. So unlike what we just saw as an example of how you would walk through a tutorial, these are actually courses. So if I want to get started with my computer, I can learn about computer basics, and these are tutorials actually. But when I get to popular software tools, these are all classes. So these are those 2 to 12-hour classes I was talking about. I've taken the Excel 2016 course. So if you go in here, I can either start with the basic or start with an intermediate. And you can see this is a 4-hour, 26-minute course. This one's 3 hours, 52 minutes. And then the advanced course was 6 hours, 6 minutes here and 33 seconds. And then I can start. So if I open this, it's going to, now I can play it. And this is very much like any online course you would take. This particular trainer, Sherry Tingle, she was really good. She was from Chicago. She has a lot of dynamic, inflection in her voice. She keeps it interesting as Microsoft Excel can be. And so kudos to them. They did a nice job of coordinating these different courses that you can take. You don't get college credit or anything like that. It's simply for the impulse of wanting to learn more. I'm going to go back a page. So that was popular software skills, software tools. Below that, you can learn more about Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. And then you can even take a course on understanding Windows 10 a little bit better. So a lot of different courses in the Computer Skills Center. Also, we have the Career Exploration resource, so I can learn about different careers. You see a lot of different careers here. Education, careers in the environment. I can even look at careers in real estate. So here's real estate salesperson fact sheet and a broker fact sheet. Enter the military. You can learn about every one of the branches of the military under the About the Military, and then you can take the different ASVAB diagnostic exams. There are quite a few of them. So a lot of different things for those pursuing military. And then even work keys assessment and a workplace, build your workplace skills. So email etiquette, workplace etiquette, a lot of different things in here. So the last center that we're going to jump into on this page is the Job and Career Accelerator. And this one is pretty extraordinary. The one thing, well, there are really 3 things in here that I love. One of them is the Find Your Career Match. The other is Explore Occupations and Discover Schools and Scholarships. I'm going to jump in here to the Explore Occupations. So you always have to click them twice. It's a little annoying, but it works. Here they've organized it under green economy jobs, hot technologies. We're going to go to in-demand occupations, just as an example of what you would see in here. So not necessarily intuitive to do a keyword search. You actually have to expand that field at the top. Not a big deal, but just know that it's there. And then if I click this next one, I can actually search by industry group. So if I want to explore the mining, oil, and gas industry and look for a job under that industry, I can go in here to dredge operator, for example. And then when I open that, I always get a video card at the top that shows me someone actually performing that job. Usually 2 to 3 minute clip. This one happens to be just over 2 minutes. Closed caption clip. The clip can be shared, can either be linked or embedded by exposing this tool at the top. It comes to us in either Spanish or English. You just have to move the tool at the top of the page. I can save this card so that I always have it available. That's at the bottom of the page. But here's the video, as I mentioned, closed captioned.
Moving mountains may sound impossible, but material moving machine operators do it all the time, one load of earth at a time. They use machinery to move heavy materials around building sites, warehouses, ships, and mines. Material moving machine operators use a...
So that's pretty much what those are all very similar in nature. And then you can expand wages and trends, average salary in the US, and then you can go to specific states. We'll find one that actually has a dredge operator. So Florida, you can see the comparison between the US and Florida, how many people are employed, projected growth, and right now there are 20 job openings for dredge operators in Florida. Knowledge, skills, and ability for the job, tasks and activity that you would perform on the job, the tools and technology you would use on the job, the education that you need. So for this one, you just need a high school diploma. Training is usually on the job. And then if I want to view available jobs for dredge operators, and sometimes they're related jobs, sometimes they're exact. For example, here's a dredge tender operator in Texas 15 days ago. A haul truck, here's another dredge operator in Louisiana. So this is very typical of what you would see in the results. Usually there's some more recent ones. A lot of times I'll get, this was posted 14 seconds ago, or 1 day ago, or 6 hours ago. So it just kind of depends on the day and what I've opened, but very typical of what you would see in all of these different occupation cards. So I'm going to keep going back to that center. Another feature in the center that can be incredibly useful is the Discover Schools and Scholarships. So you have two options, the scholarship or the school finder. We'll look at the scholarship finder first. If I want to find just say nursing scholarships, I can type in nurse and then I use the asterisk. This is called truncation. You can use this in any search field, in any search engine. You could even do this in Google and it would work. What it does is it takes the place of the ending, because we might want to type in nurse and we might want to type in nurses and we might want to type in nursing. And so if we don't know how to end that word to get the best search results, we just don't end it. We let the computer end it and it grabs all of the possible endings. So now I'm going to look for nurse with my truncation and it's going to pull up 261 different nursing scholarships, and these are all over the country. This resource has been updated quite a lot lately. I would come in here and do a search. I do a Michigan search every single time I come into this space, and I like to see what the number is. And last year there was about 1,200, and it changed once in a while. And about 2 weeks ago I opened it and there were 888 scholarships, and then yesterday I opened it and there were 886. So I know that they're constantly updating this resource, and that's always a good feeling when you know they're on top of it. So there are 886 scholarships found related to Michigan or people that are from Michigan. So if I go to this Michigan Tech Scholarship here, I just find out some information about it. They give out one scholarship. This is sponsored by the Michigan Society of Professional Engineers. You have to have a 3.0, a minimum ACT score of 26. And they only give out 1,500, and your application deadline is the first Monday in January. Here's your contact information about that scholarship, who I would talk to, and then it gives any more details about the scholarship that you might need to know at the bottom. So this is how you would kind of read these scholarship cards. And then remember, you can save these. I happen to have this one saved already, but you can save these and it goes back to your center so that next time you don't have to come and do this search again. You'll just be able to go right into it. So that's the scholarship finder. I'm going to go back to our Job and Career Accelerator, and this time we're going to look at the school finder. So if I want to search for a school, we'll say a 2 or 4 year school, I can either do a quick match where it asks me some questions like, where do I want to find a school? I can select a region, up to 2 regions or up to 5 states. So I'll just say the Great Lakes and, we'll say the Rocky Mountains. And I can hit next. I want to look for 4 year colleges, 5 areas of study. We'll just select aviation. So anything that has to do with aviation or airplanes. Let's see what we find here. Maybe not. I just thought I found aviation in here. It makes me wonder now if a particular school, for example, Western Michigan University always had an aviation program. I wonder if it's been updated and it's been removed. Very interesting. We'll just say architecture then. And here are different colleges that have an architecture program. And so you can just pull up any of them. I'll pull up Ferris. And it gives me every bit of detail about that particular university. How much is in and out of state tuition, how many students are actually receiving financial aid, description of your student body and the profile of your student body, housing. Oftentimes you'll even have your library holdings in this data of that particular university, how much it costs, the admissions process and about how much it costs in there. Here are the basics of your test score information and even what percentile most people land, and then the majors and athletics that they offer at that particular university. And the bigger the university, the more data you see for sure. So if I go back to that particular starting page, schools and scholarships, I'm in the school finder, and I just want to type in the title of the college. So if I type in Western Michigan University, I can go that way too and just look at all of the data of individual colleges. So a couple good ways to use that information to find out more about the different colleges. All right. So that is the Learning Express library. I know that was a lot of new information. One big thing I think to remember about Learning Express is that it's the only resource that requires you to have a login. So that's the most unique piece about Learning Express library. And because you have to have a login, you cannot link to any of the pages. So that's the unfortunate part. But the fortunate part is you can link students to individual centers. So if we go back to the landing page of Mel and we go back here into the educator portal, and I want to find that Learning Express library, the individual centers, I can actually go to my GeoIP URL under designing your website. If I do that, I get an alphabetical list of all of the different databases, and we've broken out the individual centers inside of Learning Express. For example, here's the career exploration. So here's a direct link to that center. Career preparation, direct link. We were in that job and career accelerator. So if I scroll down my list, here's my job and career accelerator. I have a link directly to that. So I can send people directly to that piece of Learning Express library. So this is how you can grab all of those GeoIP URLs directly, or you can come back to that educator link, and up here at the top, if you just want to look at all the resources for 912, you can start that way and it will list them out. And then if you want to open and save any of those to your website, for example, Britannica School High, you can come in here and it will tell you how to add the button to a Google site, how to add it to a Weebly page, how to add it to a Google Doc. Basically, you're just building this button right here by embedding the GeoIP URL into your web page, and then it creates a button. So what that would look like, for example, here's a middle school library in Kalamazoo. She's added the buttons here, but then because they're middle school, she also linked the text. Wanted to make sure that they were getting to the right location. So that's how a website might look in a particular school, having those buttons there. So I do want to show you one more resource before we part ways today. So we're going into the EResources for our last resource. This is going to be Britannica School. We can access this in a variety of ways through the elementary portal, the middle school, or the high school, or we can go right to the K-12 landing page and then go in there from here. So we'll go into the high school. And all of the landing pages are similar in that they have article exploration, image and videos, and biographies. And remember, this is the resource where you have to use the URL because there's not a permalink inside of the articles. Images and videos have links, but not articles. Those would have to be done with the URL at the top of the page. So if I want to go into the articles, it breaks it down into different subject area. This is a good way for exploration to kind of see what's in here. So if I just want to open sports and recreation, for example, it gives me some different topics over here on the left, games, hobbies, and other forms of recreation. And then when I click that, even more comes up. Do I want to look, or comes up, do I want to look at dice games, hobbies, puzzles? We'll look at toys. So here are some different toys that have been indexed inside of this particular resource. So I can choose any of them. We'll go to Legos. So this is a very typical page inside of Britannica. This is Lego. It shows the article. I can click on any image in here and it will take me to a link for that image. So if I click on this particular image, here are my sharing options for that image. And now I can share it in the many ways we've learned about today. Sorry, trying to go backwards. There it goes. Another feature that you have in Britannica is the double click dictionary. So if I don't understand what this word is, I can double click on it and it's going to give me syllable breaks, part of speech, pronunciation,
originate,
and the audio tool of that. So I know there's a lot in here. You have citation in here, translation. You can adjust reading level. So if I want to go down to middle school, I can go down to middle school. From high school. Usually there are 3 levels for all articles, but not always. Some of the secondary information is only for secondary. And so you can't link from the elementary resource. So that is the end of today's presentation. I hope that you all found something useful to take away from it. I have one request. As part of our federal grant, we offer an evaluation tool at the end of every session. I'm going to drop this in the chat. And if you would be so kind to fill this out, it's 4 multiple choice questions. So super, super simple and fast. And it's about library services to the public. So that is all I have today. I will field any questions at all that you have. So just let me know.